Hey, what's good, family? How are you guys doing? Welcome back to another video. It's been a crazy past month regarding a lot of technical issues, regarding a lot of lifestyle changes, both good and both kind of sketch to deal with, but everything is good. I'm finally not really dealing with my sickness or whatever that was anymore. That was kind of a strange thing, but as you can tell, my voice took a hit. So now I can only sing like the low notes. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so last week we talked about developing song concepts, and while I didn't really have much of a voice, what I wanted to do was kind of showcase my producing workflow. So I really just took a couple of hours and then just started making a tune. And the reason why I wanted to showcase that was, one, it's a neat opportunity for you guys to see how I work, and two, it might have helped you guys see some things on how to generate some ideas when you're already in the process of doing your arrangement, if that makes sense. So in this video, it's going to be a little bit more technical. It's not really going to be so much about sound design or anything. It's just going to be about building awareness to figuring out what you want, or how you, or like what kind of characteristics you want in your song, because of course the possibilities are basically limitless. So before I go any further, I would like to kind of take an overview at some of the things that I wrote down for that last track that I wrote. And the main title of it is kind of one of the key factors that helps you build a scenario, if that makes sense. In my mind, whenever I'm making a song, we talk about doing, or storytelling rather, and whenever you have a title before you make the track, it kind of helps you visualize sometimes how you want things to be. I watched a seminar or one of those master classes with Mr. Bill, and one thing that he mentioned that really resonated with me was the fact that he was a reactive creative person. It's kind of neat to hear that, because I have a very close friend and she is a piano composer, and she is a very proactive creative person, which means that she can hear something that comes to her head and just translate it. And for me, in order for me to finish ideas, I have to have these sparks of something that is triggering it, if that makes sense. So the last title was called Fireworks, and for me, I was trying to think about things that would describe that, or kind of, I guess, embody the ideas that I had pertaining to the title of the song. And so what I wanted was something that was kind of like a slower dubstep glitch vibe. Not necessarily something that's kind of like a marching anthem, but something that was a little bit easier to follow compared to a lot of the other music that I make. And it kind of reminded me of this experience that I had with somebody when we were really just lying down on the 4th of July and watching fireworks, and it was pretty neat. So whenever I think of fireworks, I think of lights, right? Because of course, like you hear, well, yes, you hear the explosions and all that, but you see how lights kind of like shimmer in the contrast of the dark. So it's kind of like it would be a cool idea to see how like lights can be sounds. Even if they are sporadic, if you stare at a light long enough and you close your eyes, then you're still going to see the light. So that's kind of synonymous, I guess, in a parallel universe with maybe stuff like delays and reverb. I think that was kind of like one of the key things that I wanted to highlight within that, because it kind of symbolizes how fireworks would be if you heard the light of the fireworks, because again, they all make explosions. So one idea that I tried to play with that didn't work out so well was a mono to stereo idea, kind of like an explosion, because it starts small and then gets bigger, right? And it's very difficult to achieve over a short period of time because it's not noticeable, but it's still kind of a cool thing to, I guess kind of explore, if that makes sense. And then some of the final things was using a fuse as a means of percussion, kind of like a lighter, right? Because whenever you set fireworks off, you have to, light them on fire. And having something that is kind of like a fuse, or that kind of shaker thing from the lighter, would be kind of cool, which I've done in one of my previous videos of creating a beat with Foley. So finally, whenever I'm thinking about the bass, I just kind of want it to be something that will carry you along the tune. And if there was going to be any kind of neuro sounds in it, I want it to be kind of like subtle and creep in. And I guess these kinds of ideas were something that I was thinking of, like the first main section of Mosaic from Cohen Sound. So taking all those into account, I pretty much came up with that 2-hour video. And I'm not going to play that again right now because everything is on my hard drive and I need to go back to it. But what I'm going to do instead is actually pull up a different song that I've been listening to lately. And I want to kind of point out some key characteristics of that to identify some things that we can kind of steal or quantify to use in our own tunes. Because sometimes it's not really about, what kind of bass is that? Sometimes it's more about catching a rhythm, or sometimes it's about identifying a type of melody, or a type of chord progression. Maybe there's an effect transition that sounds really neat that we can kind of use and basically steal in our songs. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and pull up a song. I'm going to use most likely a remix because copyright issues. And let's go ahead and highlight this. Can't remember the name of the person that made this, the original, but he created a song contest, and Azels had a really awesome remix about this. I did a private lesson with a really nice guy from China, and he was like, how do I achieve stuff like this? And he showed me the song, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. I think that I would like to steal it. So I will be sure to link whoever this is in the comments below to make sure that they get credit. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a listen to this. And I'm not going to just play the whole thing through, but I'll kind of skip around and maybe make some notations and then take some notes. All right, here we go. So there's this bell right here that is really freaking awesome, and kind of just trying to identify what is happening in the track right now. It seems like there was the chord progression that started off with a lot of distortion and then kind of like turned into this like very pretty, almost like reminding me of like a garden type sound, of course, like with the birds and all that, but the bells and the chimes kind of like accented that, which was really cool. The intro here has kind of like a filtered in drums that's like kind of like a build up for the first main section. Let's go ahead and skip ahead a little bit. That's sick. All right. So one thing that I want to take first is I want to talk about the rhythm of the bass line. So 9 times out of 10, whenever you're listening to a tune like this, you have a downbeat bass. And whenever this hits, you can definitely tell, like, I know that this isn't the right time signature or whatever, but listen to how on the first kick, there is a bass hit. Boom. So the main key rhythm of this is kind of like a hit, hit, break, hit, hit, break. And what I mean by that is if I were to take a synth, I'm not going to line it up per se, but kind of very similar with what we're listening to on this bass line in particular. Actually, yeah, let me give this some harmonics so we can hear it. So whenever this is playing, this is going boom, 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 one, boom, boom. And then on this last section here, it goes dun, 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 dun. So the nature of the rhythm of this bass line is dun, dun, one, dun, 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 one, dun, 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 one, dun, 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 dun. You're going to have to apologize my singing, but let's go ahead and listen to that one more time so we can identify, well, basically what we're listening to. So if you can kind of come up with a bass line that sounds similar to that, then that's kind of basically building a key idea off of how to create a bass line based off of what we're listening to as far as the rhythm goes. Now the sound of the bass is, you know, of course its own thing, but if I'm basically taking notes from asterism remix, right? One thing that I would write down for one is the ambient bell intro, filter in the drums on the intro, and then on the bass line, basically, like, I don't know how I don't know how I describe that, but it would be, I think I would do it as in one, there's a beat on the 1-1 to 1-2, and then on the turnaround, actually I think that would be 1.1.1.2, because it would be dun dun. Turnaround is a beat or hit every fourth note or every quarter note. And again, this isn't meant to be like so specific that I'm like, I know exactly what this means, but if I can kind of take notes and then I go back and reference this, I'm like, on the bass line 1.1, we'll just go back and listen to it and you can use that as a reference. But again, I'm just kind of taking notes about things that I like within this tune. So let's go ahead and continue. Hold on. So on one of these bass hits, it was really cool. There's an emphasis on the rhythm. And on here, there's a chord stab on one of those hits right there. So I can put sporadic chord stab on some bass hits. So, okay, so now that we're kind of like reaching this middle part, I've noticed that the, I guess, breakdown or whatever kind of has a gated chord. And what that basically means is just the dun 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 dun. And I also know that because it's filtered, these are saw waves. So if I wanted to copy something that sounded very similar to that, right? Like let's say I ended up pulling up some chords on this. Let me just turn this off, turn this down. And what I can do is, how do I want to do this? Okay, so just as a means of like trying to recreate something very quickly, I'm going to go down to chord. Let me see how this sounds. Not very good. It's pretty funny. Wow, that is not jazz at all. I think that I have some nice ninths somewhere saved up on these chords. Chord presets, maybe? Here we go. So here's some ninths, and then what we need to do from there is create an arpeggiator, arpeggiator, and then now on every envelope, or every hit rather, we need to throw this on the cutoff. And there's a much more efficient way to do this, by the way. I'm just kind of trying to provide a means of demonstration. And very easily, there we go. So if I had a breakdown that had a different chord, of course, but whatever, then I can kind of, spice this up with, some easy compression and some reverb. But that will give me a similar feel to like, okay, well now I know how to apply this in my track. And if I wanted to make something like this, then I can, start there as a, as a point of reference, so to speak. All right, a couple more things, and then we'll kind of wrap this video up. Okay, that's really nice. So this is kind of like some clicks and pops, as in just like some glitch things that you can recreate from if you use something like a corpus, but you can also just take a sine wave and make those into plucks. But that's a really nice fill. And the second main section has actually changed because it went to dun 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 dun, right? But now it's dun 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 dun. So we can put on this that the main section 2 rhythm has changed. Rhythm changes. One other thing that I noticed was that there was a lot of percussion that was panned out to the sides. So percussive glitches panned out to the side. So within all of these things that we wrote down, I know that it's not a ton of stuff, and the amount of things that you can write down is basically how much you notice. And while you're listening to this, and of course, like the first thing is that when you listen to a song and you're taking notes, like find something that you like. Make sure that you're listening to a tune that you enjoy. Otherwise, I feel like if you're listening to something you don't like, then you're going to write a tune that you don't like. Unless if you work backwards, where you listen to a tune you don't like and then turn it into something that you like, but that'd be cool if you can do it. I can't do that myself. But having this ideology of taking these down and then kind of, going back and applying the wherewithal of like how to apply these things is kind of the idea behind generating song concepts. Starting with a title is really easy to start building ideas from just off of scratch. But whenever you're listening to tunes and you're looking for reference tracks, so in conclusion, generating song concepts is a key way to basically, come up with music. One thing that I cannot do myself, which I wish I could, is I can't sit down, open up a project file, and start writing music. It just doesn't work for me. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll just open up like a project to start doing sound design. That way I don't really have like a direction or a destination. And then I try to find something that sparks my interest. And once I have something like that, then I'll try to build a song around that thematically. But that doesn't always work out. So instead, if I already have all of these sounds that I've made that I enjoy, but I don't know how to use them, then I'll start writing ideas down of basic things. Because even if I don't finish the tune, then if I can execute the ideas that I write down or execute the ideas that I hear about, then I'm getting a step closer into becoming the artist that I want to be. What I mean by that is I kind of have a clear goal of what to achieve. And if anything, it's just a cool way to explore, if that makes sense. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and you guys should go ahead and look up, I don't know how to say his name, so I'm not going to butcher it. And you can also look up the original from Asterism, which is from that guy that makes the videos of You Suck at Producing. And go give them a follow, go give them a subscription or whatever, and check out their videos, because his sound design videos and stuff are very different than mine, but you may find something useful, especially if you're a beginner. And so one more thing, guys. The schedule of my upload videos are kind of changing for two reasons. One, because right now, how do I say this? To put things very simply, the instructor at my school that I used to teach at blew out his leg. And I am currently taking over all classes while I'm in town, because I'm in the Midwest right now. So the upload schedule is probably going to switch over to Sundays. You can tell that I'm recording this. I'm expecting to upload this today. And yeah, I just want to apologize for all of the latencies and hiccups that I've had regarding uploading videos. I should be fixing that fairly soon. Just give me a couple more weeks. Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you guys for your patience. Thank you for sticking with me. Thank you to all of my Patreon subscribers, and thank you to all of my YouTube subscribers for just, hanging out and giving me feedback and helping me grow as a producer myself, because the very first thing that I am is a music maker. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching my content, and happy producing.